How will the mighty U.S. destroyers and their strike group confront the Venezuelan military and the powerful cartels that support it? To understand this, we must look at the scenarios and strategies both sides would likely deploy. The U.S. Navy has assembled a formidable presence near Venezuela. Destroyers, submarines, amphibious assault ships, marines, and P-8 Poseidon surveillance aircraft, all coordinated under a broad and multifaceted strategy. Their mission: to neutralize threats, project overwhelming pressure on the Maduro regime, and dismantle the narcotics networks that fuel its power. From the American perspective, the operation blends advanced surveillance, precision strikes, rapid amphibious landings, and maritime interdiction. The destroyers form the shield and the spear, capable of delivering devastating missile strikes deep inside Venezuela, while simultaneously providing air, sea, and missile defense for the entire task group. Equipped with vertical launching systems that can carry around 90 missiles, advanced radar, and layered close-in defenses, these destroyers maintain a constant missile defense posture, prepared to intercept hostile aircraft or incoming missile threats. At the same time, their anti-submarine warfare capabilities secure the task group against Venezuelan underwater attacks. In surface combat, the destroyers are designed to counter fast militia boats and Venezuelan naval vessels that might attempt to disrupt blockades or amphibious operations. These are warships built both for destruction and for defense, true predators of the seas. Yet, as powerful as they are, destroyers alone cannot invade land. That role belongs to the specialized amphibious assault ships, the floating fortresses of the modern age. So how does an invasion force actually move from sea to land? The answer lies in the amphibious assault ships, massive war machines that resemble aircraft carriers but are designed for a very different role. These vessels are built to launch and support ground forces in the most hostile environments. Their decks host helicopters, tilt-rotor aircraft like the MV-22 Osprey, and even the short takeoff F-35B Lightning. Beneath, they carry landing craft and armored vehicles. Each ship is a floating base, carrying thousands of Marines who are specially trained for lightning raids and large-scale amphibious assaults. In a Venezuelan scenario, these Marines would target cartel strongholds, coastal infrastructure, or regime command centers. With their urban combat experience, they could seize airports, communication hubs, and key facilities in rapid strikes, often working in coordination with local opposition groups to fracture Maduro's grip on power. But the amphibious fleet does not sail alone. Alongside them lurks one of the deadliest assets in naval warfare, the nuclear-powered attack submarine. Silent, unseen, and unstoppable, it creeps through Venezuela's maritime approaches. Its tasks range from intelligence gathering and intercepting communications to launching surprise missile strikes on air defenses or military bases. Its very presence serves as a powerful deterrent, signaling that any third-party reinforcement, whether from Russia, Iran, or others, would face immediate danger. In this layered approach, the submarine operates as the invisible blade, while the Marines strike visibly and decisively from the sea. Hovering above this naval force are the P-8 Poseidon aircraft, the long-range eyes and ears of the U.S. task group. Their job is to stretch the fleet's vision far beyond the horizon, deep into Venezuelan airspace and across the Caribbean waters. These aircraft continuously scan for enemy air defenses, troop movements, and cartel smuggling routes. With powerful sensors and electronic warfare suites, the Poseidons not only detect threats, but can also disrupt Venezuelan communications, jamming command networks to paralyze the regime's ability to respond in real time. More than scouts, they are hunters. Working in close coordination with submarines and surface ships, they mark targets for missile strikes and track underwater contacts. Any Venezuelan submarine or fast boat attempting to break through would quickly find itself locked under Poseidon's watchful gaze. This intelligence network ensures that every U.S. move is calculated, every strike guided by real-time surveillance. It is the fusion of stealth beneath the waves, firepower on the surface, and eyes in the skies that allows the U.S. Navy to dominate the battle space. But even with all this power, one weapon remains the true nightmare for any navy: the torpedo. Launched silently from a submarine, this weapon can cripple an entire fleet. And here lies the question: why is just a single submarine torpedo such a massive threat to Venezuela's navy? To understand the terror of a submarine torpedo, we must follow its deadly journey. First, compressed air propels the weapon out of the submarine's tube. Then, a piston engine drives its propellers, accelerating the torpedo to over 32 knots, more than 35 miles per hour, as it streaks toward its target. In its early phase, the torpedo is guided by a wire linked back to the submarine's fire control system, receiving navigation updates in real time. As it closes in, the wire is cut, and the torpedo switches to its onboard sonar, relentlessly hunting the target. If it misses, the weapon does not simply stop. It circles back, reacquiring the enemy ship with sonar until it finds its mark. And when it strikes, the impact is devastating. The explosive payload is equivalent to 1,200 pounds of TNT, enough to break the back of a warship in an instant. And this is only the older generation. Reports suggest that Venezuela could face even more advanced versions, supercavitating torpedoes like the Russian-made Barracuda that travel at incredible speed, skimming through the water in a bubble of vapor. Against such weapons, even the most powerful surface fleet cannot afford to underestimate the danger lurking beneath the waves. Yet Venezuela is not without options. While technologically inferior, its military and cartel allies prepare to meet American dominance with a mix of conventional defenses and asymmetric tactics. So how does Venezuela respond to the overwhelming command of the seas by the United States? The answer lies in a hybrid defense that mixes conventional military measures with irregular, asymmetric tactics. Although smaller and less advanced, the Venezuelan armed forces know their homeland well. They rely on geography, layered air defense systems, and massive militia mobilization, reportedly more than 4.5 million volunteers, to resist amphibious landings and defend critical infrastructure. Along the coast, naval patrols and missile batteries threaten incoming aircraft and warships, while militia groups fortify choke points, bridges, and cities. Even more dangerous are the drug cartels. Deeply tied to elements of the military, the cartels use their smuggling networks, jungle hideouts, and fast boats to complicate American operations. Their tactics include blending into civilian traffic, using irregular river and jungle routes, and striking from hidden positions. In these dense terrains, surveillance becomes more difficult, and raids risk becoming bogged down in guerrilla warfare. For the United States, this means the conflict would not just be about high-tech dominance, it would be about endurance. Amphibious forces could seize airports or command centers, but holding them against militias and cartel fighters would be a grinding challenge. This layered defense strategy allows Venezuela to slow the American advance, buy time, and increase the political cost of intervention. It is not about winning every battle. It is about denying the enemy a swift victory. In this confrontation, the battlefield would not be simple land versus sea. Instead, it would become a complex hybrid war where technology collides with irregular tactics. On one side, the United States would deploy its overwhelming arsenal: aerial surveillance, precision missile strikes, and rapid amphibious assaults to cripple Venezuela's ability to coordinate. Submarines would target military infrastructure, while destroyers maintained control of the sea lanes, cutting supply chains and isolating the regime. On the other side, Venezuela would weave together militias, cartels, and conventional units. Guerrilla-style ambushes in jungles, raids on supply lines, and hidden missile batteries along the coast would slow U.S. forces. The militias would act as the shield, massive numbers of fighters spread across the country. The cartels, meanwhile, would act as the shadow, striking unpredictably, using their smuggling networks to move weapons and information. The U.S. objective would be to isolate and weaken Maduro's loyalist forces until they collapse under pressure. Venezuela's aim would be survival, to resist long enough to make intervention costly, dragging the fight into the cities, jungles, and mountains where American technological superiority loses its edge. This is the nature of modern conflict. One side with unmatched firepower, the other with the terrain, numbers, and unconventional tactics to counterbalance. But the conflict does not end with just the United States and Venezuela. Other powers lurk in the background, ready to tilt the balance. Chief among them is Russia. Moscow has already shown willingness to supply allies with advanced weapons, and in Venezuela's case, it is likely to provide long-range drones such as the Shahid and Jiran. These drones, cheap but effective, can loiter for hours, searching for weak spots in American defenses. In Venezuelan hands, they could strike airfields, logistics hubs, or even command centers. A single drone attack on a fuel depot or radar installation could disrupt an entire operation. Combined with Venezuela's local knowledge, these drones would extend the reach of asymmetric warfare into the very heart of U.S. operations. Iran, too, may lend support, as it has done in other parts of the world, offering technical expertise, weapons, or advisors. Any external reinforcement, even limited, complicates the U.S. strategy by opening new fronts and stretching resources thin. For Washington, this introduces a dangerous uncertainty. The possibility that what begins as a regional intervention escalates into a proxy war, with global rivals testing America's resolve. Thus, the struggle over Venezuela is not merely about a single regime. It becomes a chessboard where great powers move their pieces carefully, each strike echoing far beyond the Caribbean. While Venezuela counts on militias and cartels, the United States leans on its powerful strike groups, fleets designed to dominate every dimension of warfare. At the heart of these groups are three essential warships: the frigate, the destroyer, and the cruiser. Each has its own role. The frigate, being the smallest, carries fewer weapons and simpler sensors, used mainly for escort and patrol duties. The cruiser, on the other hand, is the fleet's shield, larger than a destroyer, with extensive command facilities and more room for advanced radar and missiles. It coordinates defenses, directing the fleet like a general on the battlefield. Between them stands the destroyer, lean, fast, and lethal. At over 500 feet long and weighing nearly 9,000 tons, a destroyer is like a blade drawn for battle. It carries advanced radar, around 90 missiles, torpedoes, and deck guns, making it a balanced predator capable of both offense and defense. Its presence in a strike group ensures that enemy submarines, drones, or fast attack boats cannot break through. It is the workhorse of modern naval warfare, the vessel that stands between safety and destruction. Yet technology alone does not guarantee victory. To understand the true might of these ships, one must look closer at their weapons, systems designed to counter everything from small militia boats to supersonic missiles skimming the waves. Among the destroyer's arsenal, one of the most iconic is the Mark 45 deck gun, a 127mm cannon mounted at the bow. Though it looks old-fashioned compared to sleek missiles, its power lies in speed and precision. Ammunition is lifted through automated hoists, loaded into the chamber, and fired at a rate of 10 to 16 rounds per minute. Each shell can travel up to 24 kilometers, about 14 miles, raining destruction on enemy boats, coastal defenses, or even land targets. But war at sea demands layers of defense. When fast boats or drones close in too quickly for the big gun, another system awakens, the CRAM, Close-In Weapon System. This autonomous defense combines radar, electro-optical sensors, and a rolling airframe missile launcher. The CRAM carries 11 reloadable missiles, each designed to chase down incoming threats. Its primary role is to destroy anti-ship missiles, especially those flying low over the water to evade radar, like the old Soviet P-15, still used and modified by countries such as Iran. Within a 6-mile radius, the CRAM's missiles hunt their targets with a 90% success rate, creating an invisible wall around the ship. This layered combination, deck guns for surface threats, missiles for aerial ones, makes the destroyer a fortress at sea. Against militias, drones, or outdated naval forces, it is an almost unbeatable opponent. Yet as strong as it is, the destroyer is still only one piece of a vast, coordinated machine, a machine built to maintain dominance not just at sea, but across land and air as well. A U.S. strike group is never dependent on a single weapon. Instead, it relies on a carefully layered defense, where every threat, whether above, below, or on the surface, is met by a tailored response. If enemy aircraft or missiles approach from long range, destroyers and cruisers unleash their vertical launch missiles, intercepting threats before they ever reach the fleet. If small boats or fast craft attempt to break through, the Mark 45 deck gun rains down fire with speed and precision. Should a missile evade these outer defenses and close in, the CRAM system takes over, locking on instantly and firing rolling airframe missiles to obliterate the threat at the last moment. This redundancy is no accident. It is the hallmark of American naval doctrine. No single point of failure. Beyond defense, these ships are also built for offense. With Tomahawk cruise missiles, they can strike deep inside enemy territory, command bunkers, radar sites, or airfields, all without a single Marine setting foot on shore. Combined with submarines launching torpedoes and Marines storming beaches from amphibious carriers, the U.S. fleet becomes a multi-dimensional war machine. Every vessel, every aircraft, every weapon system complements the others, ensuring that no matter how complex the battlefield becomes, the Navy maintains the upper hand. For Venezuela, facing such a force is less about direct victory and more about survival, forcing delays, inflicting casualties, and dragging the conflict into environments where American advantages diminish. In any clash between the United States and Venezuela, the true struggle would not be decided in a single battle. Instead, it would unfold as a war of endurance. For the United States, the goal is clear: dismantle cartel networks, weaken the Maduro regime, and enforce dominance through overwhelming technology. Precision strikes, amphibious raids, and maritime control would aim to break Venezuela's command structure quickly. But Venezuela's strategy is survival, not outright victory. By relying on militias, irregular fighters, and cartel networks, it seeks to stretch the conflict into the jungles, mountains, and cities where American firepower cannot easily reach. Each ambush, each sabotage, each hidden missile battery adds to the cost of intervention. In this way, Venezuela transforms its weakness into a weapon. Its geography, dense terrain, and mass mobilization act as natural defenses, blunting America's technological superiority. Even if airports fall, even if ports are seized, the fight could continue inland. Messy, unpredictable, and politically costly. The hybrid battlefield becomes not just a contest of weapons, but of willpower. How long can Washington sustain pressure? How much hardship can Caracas endure? And how much chaos will cartels sow in the shadows while the world watches? This is not a traditional war of armies facing armies. It is a grinding conflict where one side wields machines of steel and the other wields time, terrain, and sheer numbers. What begins as a clash between U.S. warships and Venezuela's defenses quickly expands into something larger, a confrontation that echoes across the global chessboard. The United States frames its mission as a campaign against narcotics networks and an authoritarian regime, but for rival powers, Venezuela becomes an opportunity. Russia's drones, Iran's advisors, and perhaps even Chinese intelligence support could find their way into the conflict. each small contribution adding pressure on Washington. This transforms the Caribbean into a stage for proxy competition. A drone strike here, an intelligence leak there. Even limited outside support can complicate U.S. planning, forcing American commanders to spread their forces thinner and remain constantly alert. For Venezuela, this outside help provides both material and psychological strength. Even symbolic support convinces militias and cartels that they are not alone, that they fight as part of a greater struggle against U.S. influence. For the U.S., it raises the stakes. Any misstep risks escalation beyond a regional fight. Thus, Venezuela is not merely a battleground over one regime. It is a symbol of power, influence, and resistance. Every missile fired, every raid conducted, carries a message far beyond its immediate impact. A reminder that in the 21st century, even a regional conflict can ripple into global rivalry. In the end, the struggle between U.S. warships and Venezuela's defenses is not just about ships, missiles, or militias. It is about what each side represents. For the United States, the strike groups are a projection of power, floating cities of steel that embody technological dominance, global reach, and the ability to strike anywhere, anytime. They are meant to show the world that resistance is futile, that American power remains unmatched on the seas. For Venezuela, the fight is about survival. It cannot hope to outmatch American destroyers or submarines, but it can outlast them by turning the conflict into a war of attrition, by using militias, cartels, and difficult terrain to sap America's will. For them, victory is not defeating the fleet. It is simply still standing when the smoke clears. Yet history teaches that wars are rarely won by machines alone. They are decided by endurance, by morale, and by the willingness of people to fight long after the odds are against them. If the United States enters Venezuela, it may achieve tactical victories, ports seized, command centers destroyed, but the deeper question remains, at what cost? And as foreign powers hover on the edges, providing drones, weapons, and covert aid, the conflict risks spiraling far beyond its borders. What begins in the Caribbean may not stay there. Thus, the showdown between U.S. warships and Venezuela is more than a military scenario. It is a mirror of our world today, where advanced technology collides with local resistance, where superpowers test each other's resolve, and where every battle carries the shadow of a greater war.